Hey everybody, before we get started, I just want you to check out the content that's available from ICC, from the Content Marketing Institute. So not only do we have some great interviews coming up over the next few months of over 20 different speakers that we interviewed at the event, you can actually get the session recordings from ICC now through the Content Marketing Institute by clicking here on this ad or checking out the link in the descriptions. There you'll see all the sessions, the keynotes, and some amazing just information. So if you were there at ICC or if you weren't, the content is available, the sessions you missed, those people, the fascinating topics on AR and VR and agile marketing and content structures and content engineering, just a blast. So check it out, get the content, it's super cheap, and then you can start learning how to become a more intelligent marketer. We are here the Intelligent Content Conference, and I'm here with Matt from Mintent, right?
Mintent.
Yes. Right. I love the name. I love the idea of integrating words, but I always want to make sure I pronounce it right. My agency's name is AJI, and people call it Agi. And it's always like, how do you make it to where they don't call it Agi? And so we fought that battle for so long, and so but we're here on the last day. Yeah. And you guys are one of the sponsors here, correct?
Yes, we are, yeah.
And so you have a platform that's content marketing, but it's like the full thing, the full integration piece, the workflow, the editorial calendar pieces. Yep. So tell us a little bit about yourself kind of and the product you guys have.
Yeah, for sure. Well, so I'll start with the name. We just rebranded at this show as kind of our coming out party. And so Mintent is that combo of words. It's marketing with intent. Nice. And the reason we came up with that name is that when we looked at what we really do for marketers, we allow them to take a step back and not be so execution driven and panic driven, and really be a bit more strategic, and you could almost say mindful or intentful, and look at why they're doing their marketing. Who are the personas, what's the buying journey, what's the customer experience they're trying to create. And then every single piece of content, you have to put some thought into that when you're creating it, why you're creating it, what's the intended impact on the organization, that kind of thing, right? So that's sort of the philosophy. Let's let marketers kick back a little bit, create a little bit of space in their day to be strategic, so then the execution is even better. So Mintent, marketing with intent, and I've recently joined as the CEO of the company. And
oh wow!
Yeah, so we've rebranded and we've launched a new website, and so we're here at the perfect place as this conference to launch it. So it's been great.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's definitely a major need in the industry. One of the problems we've seen is there is no operating system for marketing content. There is the CRM, which is not a good place for content. It's a good place for records of customers. And you got the CMS, which is a good place for content, or can be, depending on what structure and the style you have. But it's not a good place for the workflow and the conversations that happen. So we do need somebody in the middle that says, hey, I'm going to be cool with both.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's how we see it too, right? The marketing tech stack is somewhat mature in some ways. Like you said, the CRM, the CMS, the marketing automation tool, and your social management. That's pretty much part of the infrastructure now. Everybody has that or is getting that pretty quickly. But then you look at, well, what's the fuel that you put into that? Mm-hmm. That's the content, and how is that process managed today? And it's whiteboards and email and spreadsheets and maybe project management tools and stuff, but there isn't really a system of record, I guess, or an infrastructural piece to manage the planning, the production, the publishing, and the measurement of all your content. And so that space that the analysts are calling content marketing platform, it's a new emerging category with a handful of players. But I think it's a critical piece of the MarTech stack, and we're excited to be one of the pioneers in that space.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be content marketing. And that's the unfortunate thing about
it doesn't.
That middle piece is the campaign would work wonderfully in this.
Yeah.
And in fact, it almost works a little better because it has a start and an end, and you can get to production and then push it out.
Totally. You can put events in there. You can put all the marketing activities. It's just that content is that differentiator of all the tactics, the different campaigns and the shows you're going to. Everybody's sort of racing to do those things. Yeah. So it becomes the table stakes. What differentiates you is the content. the relevance and the quality in that. So to really, that's where the strategy really is important, to make sure you're doing, not racing to do more content, but actually trying to maybe do less content that has bigger impact. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Because there's no reason to continue to produce a blog post a week if no one's reading them.
Exactly. And I think we feel good about ourselves when we're busy, when we're like that old saying, don't confuse motion for movement. So if we're busy and we're giving out orders and we've assigned a lot, we're spending money and we're hitting every channel with every piece of content as fast as possible, it makes us feel like we're doing everything we can, but we might not be.
Yeah.
We might not be actually having the desired impact that we think we are.
And unfortunately, most marketing teams that use content marketing are serving two masters. One is SEO.
Yes.
And then the other one is customer retention and audience building.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to reconcile those two things.
Exactly,
for sure.
because if you sit down and you produce the best piece of content in the world, and it took you 2 weeks, and you release it on the third week, and then you do another one, you release it on the third week, that is 2 pieces of content in 6 weeks. They may be the most valuable pieces of content.
Yeah.
The search engine thinks you are a blip on the radar. And if you're a new company or a new domain, you expect that thing to get indexed maybe in a year. At that speed. And so you have to be producing content to win that one, and then but you can't disrupt the audience.
And we just went through that. We were launching our new site, so I got all the recommendations from our SEO guy. So the initial pendulum was over there. Okay, let's create all the content to make him totally happy. But then when we read it as human beings and ran it by some people, they're like, it doesn't really make sense. But it does for SEO.
I don't know what you do, but
I don't know what you do.
But
wow, you're
going
to get a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
And then you go over here and you write it in the most eloquent way that really nails your value prop and stuff. And the SEO guy looks at that and goes, no, it's not going to get you any traffic. So you definitely got to be in the middle. And that is really difficult.
I like what Rand from Moz says is like, if you have a piece of content, you need like 3 or 4 landing pages around that drive it based off of these things, but then that clutters up your website, and that also makes it difficult to publish and do workflow on that, right?
But that might not be the best thing from an overall customer experience perspective, because now you've got silos of stuff all over the place, right?
Yeah. So, and then we've got all these integrated forms tools, we got all these integrated surveys, and then there's the beast of analytics that we need to attach back to our workflow tools, so that way we know what's going to work and what doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yesterday I spoke with the founder of Acrolinks, and he's talking about the quality of the words you use, and so there's that aspect of it. And there's just so much that's going on.
Yeah.
It's like we need to hit pause and say, okay, as an industry, how can we communicate better together?
Yeah. Well, and that's why we're here at this show. I mean, this is a great, sort of think tank of people that are wrestling with all of these things. And it's good to take a step aside from your day-to-day business and spend a few days with everybody that's scratching their head around the same things and going, so how are you handling that? And is any of this technology showing any promise? And so I find it quite refreshing.
Yeah. I think I want to start a marketing tech vendor conference.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's everybody comes in that's a vendor, and we all like leave our guns at the door and just have a round table to say, okay, I have to integrate with you. What's the communication going to look like? And unify and figure out how we can do better. Because it's so competitive right now. When it doesn't need to be. Most of the time, there's no overlap. But
it's the old standards body conversation, right? Could we all get together and agree on a common approach, an API or something that we could all, a hub that we could all, push to and pull from, and that would be fantastic, right?
And we saw with Google and their push for the accelerated pages, they're Google. It's like Walmart saying, hey, we need to standardize on our pricing. Everybody's like, okay, you're Walmart, we have to, right?
That's a bit of a forced standard.
But in MarTech space, there's no dominant player. I mean, Adobe doesn't play well with anybody.
No.
Right? And so they're off on their own world. Microsoft is trying to get a foot in the door. They would be a good group to try it, but they don't actually have a marketing tech stack yet.
No.
It's CRM.
Yeah.
Salesforce has got their own cloud. They're not interested in playing with anybody else. So everyone is a 50 to 200 employee shop.
Yeah.
And they don't have the power of the cloud or the funds.
The people that have the power, like you say, are the big behemoths, right? Salesforce, Adobe, SAP, Oracle, we own it all. We do it all. One-stop shop. And Well, not for everybody. And then down here, it's all the little guys that don't have enough power to drive a standard or anything like that. So, it's an interest. It's hard for the customer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
It's hard for the customer.
And I mean, I have a lot of, my passion is the medium-sized business,
Yeah,
right? The ones
yeah.
that have a 2 to 3 person marketing team.
Yeah.
And they're tasked with doing SEO for the first time.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Building
yeah.
a website that's not about them for the first time.
Yeah.
And putting together these stacks, right? Getting a budget of near $1 million for the first time for something like a website.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then trying to put these things together, it just doesn't blend well. And so it's cool to see that you guys have said, hey, look, we're going to sit in the middle and we're going to do stem to stern middle.
Yes.
Right.
And our whole approach is, I don't want to go into anyone else's space, right? So we're that middle piece. But in terms of who we integrate with, we push to all of the marketing automation platforms, the content management systems, direct to the social channels, and we have an internal communications component. But a lot of our customers want to use Slack. Well, I'm going to integrate with that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to so I'm going to look for the pieces around the edge that already exist, and then try and embed that through our API or white label or whatever. So then I can grow and expand and add more value to what my customer's trying to do without necessarily having to, create all my own IP around
Exactly.
it. So,
And then it's the content that you produce about how to integrate with
Yeah,
Slack and make
yeah.
it easy. That's all value
Yeah.
add
Yeah.
that then makes people, one, they integrate your platform in. The more
Yeah.
plugs you can put in, the harder it is to disconnect.
Yeah, no, exactly.
and
Well,
that-
and it's part of our vision of giving marketers a platform that allows them to be, a little more peaceful,
Yeah.
I guess, around the way they do things. So if I can bring value to them and say, hey, this is the place you go where kind of, everything's in order and you can see what's going on and kind of go, I got this.
Yeah.
That's our vision. So if I can add other people's technologies into that ecosystem to, expand the footprint of what we can cover, then that's better for the customer. Right?
Yeah.
So
So what's some of the big takeaways you've seen at this event? Because you're sitting outside of the main hall and you go in and out and you're seeing some of these sessions.
Yeah. Well, you know what? For me, the biggest thing and the theme that I keep hearing about, which is a good one, and we've already touched on it a bit. And Robert Rose said it yesterday, a great quote. When he said, the aim isn't to produce more content; it's to produce less content with the maximum impact, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you see all the statistics. 80% of Forrester did this research. 80% of marketers think that their content is great, has good impact, good value. And then you interview the customers on the other side, and 50% of them actually think the content is totally useless.
Yeah.
So there's a mismatch there. Marketers think they're doing a great job with their content, and the customers don't think that. And then you survey people. Next year, are you going to produce more content, or everybody's going to produce more, right? So there is this, the analyst and CMI, and they're starting to say, don't necessarily, don't grab your budget and just go, okay, let's get as much content for as many channels as fast as possible. That isn't the approach. The approach is now more about why are you producing the content?
Yeah.
What's the impact? What's the purpose of it? How are you going to know if it's having the impact that you think it will? Like, how are you going to measure it? So you're hearing more about buying journeys, customer experience, personas, which is the strategic end of content. And then it's that whole, let's not spend all our time doing the urgent, important things. Let's try and carve a little bit of time out to do the not as urgent, but more important stuff.
Yeah.
And so I'm hearing themes like that, right? And using more data to figure out what you should be producing, even artificial intelligence. And, so I guess that's maybe the common thread is let's just slow down a little bit.
Yeah.
Enough to make sure that what we're doing is the right stuff. And that's kind of a reoccurring theme that I've heard. And, also on the technology side is people are, even though technology itself isn't the answer, people are underinvested, I would say, in the technology. There's pieces out there that they could be using. They either haven't acquired it or they just aren't using it properly, or they haven't made them work together. Marketers need to become more technical.
Yeah.
And have people on their teams that are more technical. It's just that MarTech stack is becoming table stakes.
Yeah.
And it's not where marketers come from historically.
Yeah.
So they need to introduce new ways of being marketers.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I love the term marketer because it means nothing.
Means nothing.
No. I'm a person who goes into market. right?
Yeah.
And I analyze the market, and I
Yeah.
try to bring the market into, and we do business.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
understand the customer.
Yeah.
Like there's
Yeah.
so many people who are considered your customer.
Yeah.
And then you put the word, content in there, and it means anything.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
so it's like
Yeah.
content is an event, it's a book, it's a white paper,
Yeah.
it's a blog
Yeah.
post, it's a
feeling.
exactly. And
an
so
experience,
to
right?
define what
Yeah.
a marketer does
Yeah.
is meaningless without the organization and the tactics attached to it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
having marketers who are either adopting more technologists into their space, people who can develop and build websites and design and do
Analytics.
analytics
Yeah.
and more advanced
Yeah.
pieces. And then
Yeah.
also cross-training your marketers to then go out and build their own reports and queries and
Yeah.
use that data
Yeah.
and to start to clean up the content and structure the content and put it into the schema and not just dumping a Word doc into a rich text field.
Absolutely.
Is
Yeah.
really where we need to get to. And
Yeah.
that's going to take us to slow down a bit.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's also going to take us to work just as hard.
Yeah. Well, it's that paradox, right? Because when people hear slow down, they panic, right?
Yeah.
Because we're in this how many job descriptions you look at must be good at multitasking. Well, I mean, we're starting to learn that humans can't multitask, right?
Yeah.
They don't. Some people can, but it's very few, right?
Yeah.
But we live in this multitask, go hard, sleep when you're dead, kind of attitude. So the thought of, slowing down is just sheds shivers down managers' spines, right?
Yeah.
But I don't view it as less intense or less focused. You keep that, but you're just not as frantic. You're just not as panicked. You're not as focused. Like Robert said yesterday, Robert Rose in his keynote, he said, we've given, thoughtful strategies given way to execution, or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's true. We're so panicked.
Yeah.
Because we got a lot of pressure from the C-suite, right? Do more with less.
Yeah.
And we're measuring everything you're doing, so you have to show the impact. And you're responsible for more than leads now. You own the customer experience, you own the brand, you own the overall revenue objective. So as a marketer, you have intense pressure, and so our human reaction, I think, is to just do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's not always the right.
And that's
way.
one of the pushes I do with agile marketing is so many people want to skip away from Scrum.
Yeah.
And, Scrum is the time-boxed approach to agile.
Yeah.
Everybody wants patience and peace and the ability to work and do good work.
Yeah.
But no one wants to say no, and no one wants to commit to the time box.
Right.
And say, I'm going to do this in this time.
Yeah.
I think it's going to take this much time. If it takes a little bit more, I'm going to work a little bit more. If it takes less, I'm going to optimize and make it better.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't want to do that because of this frantic nature. And it's like, at some point, you're going to have to stop.
Yeah.
Or you're going to burn out and you're going to leave, or you're going to burn out and have a heart attack and crash on the floor.
Because I ask people when they're like just doing more and I can't stop and be more strategic. I don't have time. Do you have personas? I should, but I don't have time. Have you mapped your buying journeys? I should, but I don't have time. It's like, well, but think through the logical conclusion of just trying to produce more content. I mean, the number of people in the world isn't really growing very quickly compared to the amount of content, right? So it's just, it's a race that doesn't have a win at the end of it. So we have to do something different.
Exactly.
And the different is understanding our customers and the experiences we need to create, and then thinking about the minimal amount of content we should produce to have that desired experience, right?
And then you've got the amplification of content, getting content out there, and that's harder than ever.
Super hard.
Because the SEO aspect takes too long. If you're not pushing at the pace of you're going to have 1,000 pieces of content in the next 2 years, then it's going to be very difficult to win that space.
Yeah.
PPO and paid advertisement, even though it's gotten better to classify the persona or the visitors you want, you can't see intent. You can't gauge whether or not they like the content or not.
Yeah.
And then all the channels that we've used, like, Twitter's ruined by marketers. LinkedIn, it's getting ruined by marketers.
Totally.
And so it's like all of a sudden you totally understand why it's frantic pace.
Yeah.
I got a best piece of content I've produced yet. I put it out and no one reads it.
Yeah.
And then I get no value, but they're still not looking at the salespeople. They're still not looking at the account management, their current customers.
Yeah.
And then saying, did you like that? Was that effective?
Yeah.
And they say yes, and that becomes a view to them, right?
Yeah,
That is a valuable piece of information to report back to say, you know what? On this piece of content, 100 customers and prospects were surveyed, and 90% of them thought this was valuable.
Yeah.
If you can report that to management,
game changer, right?
It'd be like, great. Sales, what are you doing about it? It's like, the buck's moved along. But if we come back and say, oh, we had 150 views of the content, it's like,
exactly.
that's it. You know, it's because I think that's not enough.
Yeah, who were they? Did they like it? And it's like, I don't know.
Exactly. I can't ask them.
I can't answer that. Please stop asking me these hard questions.
I gotta go produce more content. Please let me
look at my dashboard, okay? Don't ask me questions.
Yeah, and then we get attached to the schedule and this concept of releasing on an interval for it to be expected. And sometimes that works. Sometimes you do. Like Joe and Robert, they have to release Monday night, so Tuesday morning you have it because that's the rhythm that they've built over almost 3 years of doing the podcast.
Yeah, it's an expectation.
It's a show.
Yeah,
and that's what it's the 9 o'clock news.
Yeah.
However, there are other types of shows. There's the specials. There's other things of content marketing that aren't released on the weekly schedule.
Yeah.
Where missing it by a day or two or whatever. Look at House of Cards, right? House of Cards season 5.
One of the best shows ever, by the way.
Exactly. It's 2 months different than it's ever been.
Yeah.
They're not going to lose fans.
No.
Homeland went from September to January.
Yeah.
They didn't lose fans.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You can move some of those things to get the quality out there.
Yeah, the concept of the schedule or that even days or times or stuff it's less meaningful now for sure. Right? And that's why it's hard, I think, to keep up to your customers because as customers, we're fluid, right? I'm just like, hey, I like your shirt. I've just had an experience with your brand, right?
Yeah.
Well, where did that fit in? The buyer's journey, right? Like,
Exactly.
It's tough, right? So
it's like using the billboards as a tactic.
Yeah,
it's like, how do you know whether or not it's effective or not? You don't.
You don't.
You never do. I mean, if you're a restaurant and you're right off a gas station, absolutely, you need to shine that you're there. But anybody else, it's like, how can you tell if it's effective?
So we're like every discrete thing we're putting in is measurable, but because there's so much of it coming, and it's really hard to map it to the buying journey. In a way, sometimes I think it's becoming harder to measure the impact that marketing's having.
Especially with the print button. And then the ability to take it away and detach it from connection, the ability to use multiple devices, to read it on your desktop, to put your email, have the cookie on your desktop, share a link with yourself, open it up on your cell phone, and now you're not the person who was viewing it in the CMS. You're a brand new visitor.
That's the whole thing. I mean, I think a lot of the ways we think about selling, we the little tiny bit that we know about what that customer did on our website, and then we try and infer that we know what's going on. And yet, that board meeting that happened with 10 people in the room having the verbal dialogue about whether your stuff's good compared, you don't have any insight into that. So to think you're even close to understanding the buyer cycle from that little bit of information is somewhat naive, right?
Yeah, and even asking like where you heard about us. I mean, they could say, oh, we did a Google search, but really it was like somebody that you worked with for 20 years gave you a recommendation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it was great talking to you.
No, these are all interesting topics, and there's no easy answers to any of them. But it's nice to be here with like-minded people that are all, trying to figure it out.
Exactly, and I think that the lesson from this conversation is there's so many unknowns out there. Get the knowns done right, and use platforms like yours that will allow you to get the workflow right, get the pacing right, and get the value add right. And then you can focus on strategy and then tackling these bigger issues. But if you're focused on
that's perfect.
Workflow,
did you write that down? Let's quote him.
Exactly. If you're focused on the production and knowing whether or not something got done or not, and whether or not you're on schedule or you have resource allocation or it's the right priority, the right persona. That's the stuff that you'll easily forget when you're
I agree. And that's what we're trying to do. We're not trying to boil the ocean and solve all these bigger problems, but we're saying there is some of it we can tackle.
Yeah.
And let's start there.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you. It's great.
Did you know 70% of Twitter users watch videos found in their newsfeed? Here's a tip. Use visuals in your tweets. People are 3 times more likely to engage with a tweet that includes a video. Create short, visually entertaining videos to grab your followers' attention in their timelines. Quickly and easily publish videos to YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter at once with Bright Cove Social. Learn more at brightcove.com.
Hey guys, we're getting ready to pack up and head out for the summer, but one of the things we're very excited about is the Content Marketing World Conference in September. It is my favorite event. You get 4,000 plus marketers, there's tons of exhibitors, there's tons of amazing speakers, influencers, and the content is so rich. It is by far the best value in marketing. Right now, you can sign up through us and get $100 off, but then we'll also be having different events with some of our sponsors and the content marketing people, and then we'll let you see what goes on behind the scenes of recording one of these podcasts. And so I hope you enjoy the show, but I really hope I can see you at Content Marketing World. So make sure you register, use this code, but then also let us know you're going to be there, and we'll make sure we get you an invitation to anything that we're doing at the event. Thanks a lot and enjoy the podcast.